I'm going to walk through my tic-tac-toe game and explain how I built it. It's not the absolute most efficient approach to building this tic-tac-toe game, so I absolutely welcome ideas to improve upon it. So here's how it works right now. I selected one to play tic-tac-toe. The tic-tac-toe online is being printed here because its constructor has been run, and that's the output when it's first instantiated. I'm going to play the position 0, and so I'll select 0, and now it's there. The computer randomly selected the one next to me. I'll press 2, and so, okay, and so I've just won. I played 6, and then it detected a pattern, and game was over. Alright, so now, first things first, whenever I'm going to start walking through a game, I should follow the thread. So that's where the attention of the computer starts. So the computer is going to start at main, right up here. So from main, we first run the welcome message, and that's this junk up here. So it loops from 0 to 6. And prints out a line of stars, and it when x is equal to 2, which is actually the third iteration because it's 0 and then 1 and then 2, so that's why you have 3. After 3 lines, it says welcome to tic-tac-toe, and then we close out of this method, and then we go back into the main method, and we're going to run a switch, which is a conditional, like an if statement, but it has separate cases, so you can program a lot of options in a different structure than just doing if and then else if and else if. So I'm calling display menu. Display menu is down here, and display menu prints out these options and tries to take an input, and if you don't give it a number, so this right here is trying to use the scanner object to take the input. That's what's listening for the number right there, and it tries to convert it into an integer. If I gave it a letter and it can't convert to an integer, it will give me this this error. I'm not inside of a loop or anything, so it won't give me another attempt. If I do that wrong, it crashes the game. Well, it doesn't crash the game. It gives me no input, and so I return without an option, and the game closes. So anyway, which I could just fix by putting in a loop here, and then just have the loop break out only upon a successful entry. But anyway, so once I have made a selection, I will then return that selection, and that comes back here. And so based on what I entered, if I pressed 1, it will do this. If I press 2, it will do this. If I gave anything else, it says goodbye. And that's why if I don't get it right the first time, it's just as good as quitting. If I pressed 1, it will create a new tic-tac-toe object called game and rerun new tic-tac-toe. This is converting, instead of just running tic-tac-toe and calling its methods as if it was static. So I would do tic-tac-toe dot, player 2's turn or whatever. Instead, I'm creating an instance, an example of this code. So I'm taking the class and making a copy of it inside of this variable. So that's an instance, a concept that we're working on right now. I'm creating an integer here for no apparent reason. I think that I was just explaining something to someone and I was creating that. I don't know why on earth I need that. I create the new tic-tac-toe object, and that takes me over to this file. Here's the constructor, and before I go into the constructor, which is being called, you should know that this has 2 instance variables. So variables that get copied over into that spot in memory when that game variable is created right here. So game will have an array of characters called game board, and it will also have a Boolean my turn. So it keeps track of if it's the player's turn. It's starting out as true, so the player goes first. And this gets toggled back and forth to true and false. It turns to false when the computer is going, and I just use that as an easy way to keep track of whose turn it is. So if the game, if there's a winning scenario, and it was just my turn and I just played, I can say, "Oh, you just won." That's just I'll explain it as I hit that. So I instantiate the array. So the array isn't like a static variable that I can just give a value to. I do need to instantiate it because it is an object, and we're giving it a spots 0 through 8. When I say 9 spots, it starts at the 0 index. Now this is code that I just borrowed from this and this. I just borrowed right from Stack Overflow, and this is just being used in order to populate the 0 through 8. I loop through 0 to the length of the board, which is 8. So I'll loop through there, and in each spot I convert the iterator into a character, and I just stick it there. So that's how I write down I convert the number of this counter into the character that will take this spot. And then we say TicTacToe online, and then we need to print the board. So we're not actually printing the board yet, so we've just said TicTacToe online. So now to get the game going, we first check to see if there's a winner. There won't be. And then we print this board. And now we pass it over to your turn. So I'll jump down to your turn. In your turn, we'll take a scanner, create a new scanner, create an integer to hold or input the selection. Then we're going to say, what position would you like to play? And we're going to attempt to try to take that integer in. If you give it something funky and this crashes, then it will give you an invalid selection. Please try again. And then this while loop will repeat, and you'll be back in this while loop, and you'll see it over again, and it will try again. If it works, then it will go on to the next line of code and say, it will check to see if that spot, if it's a legitimate spot, is that spot taken with either an X or an O. If not, then you can put the player's X in that position, and then break out of this while loop and move on. If it is already taken, you'll see that, and then it closes, and it will then repeat, and you will get to reinsert another. We'll try another attempt, and then once it gets through there, you've successfully placed. Then it'll check to see if someone won. And so how I do this is I just did all eight possible wins. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8. So this is not at all particularly elegant. I formatted it neatly so I could at least see all of the possible outcomes. So it sees if any one of them, if 0 is the same as 1, then I have a pattern. And then if 1 is the same as 2, then I know all 3 of these are the same. And then I can then announce who won, and I will return true, saying, yes, we are finished. I'll talk about this in a second. But once if there is no clear winner here, then I need to check to see if it's a tie game, if all spots have been taken up. So loop through the whole thing and check if that spot in the array is not equal to an O or an X. So look through and see if any one of these is a number, or anything other than a O or an X, and if we find a single free spot, then no, we're not finished because there is no winning play and there's still a free spot on the board. So return false, we are not finished. Otherwise, if it gets down to here, that means no one won, none of the winning scenarios are there, and the game board has no free spots, so we print out tie game and we return true, yes, we are finished. And because the big winner never gets called, the game logic knows that no one won, because you'll only call the announcement if we run this function. And this function, big winner, is right here, and it just keeps track. If my turn is, so if this is true, then we'll say, it was my turn, nice job. If it's not true, it'll say, you have lost the game, the computer player won. And so, I check if, after I've just done my play, I'll check that to see if I'm finished. If this came back as false, that I'm not finished, then this switches this to true, saying the game will continue, and I'll say change my turn, this boolean, to not my turn, so it's no longer my turn. And so we're handing things over to the computer, and now it's the computer's turn. Computer's turn will announce that I put this in here just because I was debugging this code, and I wanted to see, is this function even starting? So I put this out there to see when I would get to this function. Anyway, so I'm in an infinite loop here, and I'm going to keep on creating a random number from 0 to 8. This is non-inclusive, so it's 0 inclusive to 9, which is non-inclusive, so that's 0 to 8. And I'm going to try to see if the spot is free. If it is, then set it equal to an O, and then switch the toggle so it's now back to my turn. So because we're setting it to the opposite of whatever it is right now, and then break out of this while loop. Otherwise, pick another random number and try again. And then once we break out of the while loop, once we break out of the while loop, this closes, and the computer's turn was being called by your turn, so this closes, and that means your turn closed, and we're back to the game loop up here. Your turn just finished. Now we'll check this while loop goes back to the beginning. We'll check if we're finished. If we are not finished, then we print the board and keep going. If the computer player won, then this would have detected it, and or if it was filled up and the tie game, it would have detected it. And that's pretty much the whole app. That's the approach that I've taken with it. If you have any questions or want to learn more, just let me know.